And then I'm gonna be on the thing on
Right there
YouTube.
upstairs. Yeah. Come here.
Don't be worried about him.
No, no,
No!
no.
There's nothing to see.